and we want the fans out of their seat. We want to score goals. We want to give them, momentum on our side. And then on the flip side is when we don't have the ball, we got to be dogs.
And we're live. We are live. Welcome to the Afterburn Soccer Show. Finally able to carve out some time for this episode, this edition, as we are well into the off season here for FC Dallas and family. But we're live. We're live to break down the latest news. Not that there's tons of news about FC Dallas, but we'll touch on that. World Cup. Major League Soccer season scheduling shifts that are seismic and exciting. Just so much to get to, and we'll try to break it down here for the next 30, 40 minutes together. And, of course, if you're on YouTube with us, you can send in your comments or questions. You can shape the show if you have a burning take that needs to get out there. Of course, I'm Nathan. You can follow me at Afterburn Soccer. Let me try to get the little things up here. And with us is Colin Couvert there in the middle at Mr. Couv, and our good buddy Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona. And so
what's up, everybody?
Let's get into it. But let's start with World Cup stuff. We just opened the show, a couple of clips there. Big moments for Petar Musa, his return to Croatia after quite a while, and he gets a huge goal that is part of the effort to punch Croatia. Actually, and an assist, I think, as well. He just a lot of good action that push Croatia into World Cups. Congratulations to him for that return. He's in the form of his life right now. It's so exciting to see. And then like Deedson, who we barely have seen on the FC Dallas pitch, but getting a clutch goal that puts Haiti into qualified status on their way to the World Cup.
Ahead of supposedly much better teams too.
Yeah. Let me make sure I get some audio here. Big moments for both players, and especially for Deedson, who we just really haven't seen. He's been this mystery signing.
He's essentially been a signing for next season. Honestly, that's the way he's been treated. They never told us, but that's really how he's been handled. He's been handled like a guy that, hey, we're going to sign now, but you won't really get to see him until next year, because they didn't really attempt to incorporate him into the rotation or anything. At any point, it seemed like he was, being brought along this season.
It was a mystery, but exciting to see. Exciting to see him come up big. It gives us a little bit of hope for what he could be next year, I think. Since he has been such a mystery for fans.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Tessman. Let's throw out Tenor with a big goal as the USA looks for once to be in good form. A lot of good play. Pepe, unfortunately, not getting much opportunity. We were hoping that he was going to have a good run, but still time for him. But this is what happens, too, in international soccer when you're competing against a bunch of other professionals who are all pushing for a spot to play in the World Cup, which is such an honor just to get onto that roster. You've got to take your chances. You've got to be you got to be good. You got to make the case to get those minutes. So good stuff to see there. But let's get into the meat of it. Before we talk about FC, what we're going to do for the major end of the show is really talk about FC Dallas roster decisions. They have not dropped yet. We know of one departure. May have heard of others. Colin may have the scoop on some, but we've heard it's been delayed because New Mexico United had a great run deep into USL Championship playoffs. And of course, that includes Thomas Pondeka, who's still part of the FC Dallas roster, even though he's on loan there. And actually, Carl Sante as well with Phoenix it was still in the mix, I suppose. So those have delayed roster decisions because those players are still playing. So they haven't been able to speak to them yet. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But we'll make some predictions. But right now, let's first talk about the big piece of news that Major League Soccer announced. They voted on it at their board of directors, owners meetings, whatever they want to call it, that they are making a shift from the spring to winter schedule now to line up with the international schedule overall and across soccer professionally. The vast majority of soccer leagues of going from a fall to spring soccer schedule. Let's just get reactions. Colin, Jose, I want to hear about your guys' thoughts on this. Colin, we'll start with you. Are you excited about this move?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a great change. I think it's honestly something that the league has been needing to do. From me, looking at it from a fan perspective, I like it a lot better. Because, I mean, let's be honest, the only thing that changes is we don't have games in June and no more 4th of July games, which I think every Fisco fan and person that goes to FC Dallas games is going to be happy about. No more super hot games. Obviously, August is there. September, you can get a little bit warm, but it's not going to be 102 at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday for 4th of July or whatever. So it's one of those things where it also could help FC Dallas because we almost every year except for the 2015-2016 seasons, we had a summer slump. Like, it was not often that we didn't have a summer slump. Mm-hmm. Even this year, we were still bad until mid-July, late July. So it's one of those things where there's been times where we've been third place, like with Nico, and dropped all the way to 7th. It happens sometimes in the summer, and it always happens then. So I think that benefits us. But overall, just for the league in itself, I think it's a good idea because you're going to be now able to get most of your signings in the summer. You're going to get them acclimated. You're going to be able to get them ready to go. And no more, we can't get this player now in the winter because we have to wait for his contract expiring this summer. Or we have to wait to sign this guy in the summer because we don't want to pay the transfer fee in the winter. And a lot of teams in Europe don't want their players to go in the winter because they can't really sign many players. Like, the player availability just isn't there. I mean, look at Petar Musa. The reason we were able to get Petar Musa is because Benfica had 4 strikers, including him, on the roster. So we were able to be like, hey, you have 4 strikers. Us buying Musa, that was part of the negotiation. Why we had to pay up a little bit more is because they didn't want to let him go in case someone gets injured. So it's one of those things where a lot of those variables and a lot of those, like, question marks are now lifted for the transfer market and everything. And I think it's also it's really good also for players, like with us being, if we want to go back to the developmental club that our identity and our DNA is, it's going to be good for transferring players out too and getting more money for that because you make a lot more money selling players in the summer than the winter transfer window. And a lot of our players, if you look, they leave in the summer transfer window. So it's one of those things where now we can actually hold on to a player for a whole season. Like, unlike someone like Tanner Tessman, who played, I think, literally from March until the end of May, and they got sold in June. So it's one of those players where, like, Tessman at that point would have been playing the whole season most likely, and we could have maybe gotten more money for him, even though the transfer fee back then, even for us who saw how good he was a steal in our opinions. But it's one of those things where I think it's really good for the league. A lot of people complaining about it because you're going to be competing with the NFL and the NBA and yada yada. Like, okay, there is not a major league sport that is a top 3 sport, and top 3 I'm saying in order based on popularity and viewers at home in stadiums, is NFL, NBA, MLB. Those are your three most popular in the United States. There's not a time in the MLS calendar where it's just MLS. So this whole argument of you're going up against the NFL, college football, yada yada, that happens for half the season anyway. I don't understand that argument. The argument's just bogus and dumb to me. But overall, I think it's a good change for MLS. It's something that's been needed to happen, especially with the step up in level of play in the last 3 to 4 years, let alone the decade jump we've had. But we're actually competing at a very high level, with a lot of players that they come from MLS and go to the championship, for example, and they flop. I mean, there's been multiple players like that. Back in the day, if you went to the championship from MLS, you kind of you dominated, or like you had a really good move, you did well. Nowadays, you're seeing players that are really good in MLS go to championship and struggle, or going to top divisions and struggling, maybe showing that MLS is improving their play. So overall, to make a very long rant short, I think it is a really good decision, and I'm really surprised they did it.
All right. Jose?
Everything he said. Sorry. Everything he said. No, I agree. I mean, people were hung up on scheduling. They've been hung up on scheduling forever. I mean, it's a win. If you get your playoffs set up properly, which they still haven't figured out, when those roll around, they won't be competing with the NFL. If that's your big argument, this solves that. You're going to have your MLS Cup, your final, your playoffs, basically around the time that like spring training is going on, stuff like that. I don't think you're going to have to you won't be dealing with the NFL at all. You won't be dealing with college football. You won't be dealing with high school football. Believe it or not, that in some states, like Texas, it's a massive deal. So I think it opens up the calendar, at least in the second part of the season. It opens it up. And I know people are assuming that you're going to have breaks. They're still going to find time for the matches against Liga MX. They still got to find time to play the U.S. Open Cup. We're still waiting to find out how that's going to go. So these breaks that we're hearing about, it may be breaks in name only. There's a lot of games to be played that MLS will still have to find time for. And I got a feeling those breaks, they come very in handy if you want to keep that going. So the other thing, as far as the transfers markets and all that, I'm excited because there's one massive edge that MLS has had over a lot of leagues, and I'm not talking, obviously not, not England, for example, but over anyone outside, say, of the top 3, top 4 leagues. And that is stability. The fact that when you sign here, you're going to get paid. There's not going to be delays. You're not going to have to go through the stuff that you see coming out of, say, Portugal, or some of the stuff that's going on in France. Stuff that, players and agents, do you come to the United States? Okay, you may miss out on. Let's face it, not everybody gets to go to the Champions League or anything like that. So there's gonna be a lot of leagues that MLS can't compete with, just based on stability alone. And I think you're gonna see that. You're gonna see some players sign like Petar, Musa, who are gonna come here for simple reasons like that. None of the financial drama that you normally get. And let's face it, not everything's going to be a pay cut. There's some teams in MLS that are willing to pay top dollar for players. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to pan out. I think the winners are the fans, in that the odds of your best player being sold mid-season are going to drop exponentially. So I'm pretty excited. I think it fixes a lot of things. It creates other issues, but this is a growing league. It's got time to figure it out. It's got time before it's got plenty of time to make that all work out. So it's very exciting. The scheduling should be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how it works out. But You got to embrace the change.
I love it. I mean, I warmed up to this. I mean, I will tell you one of the things I've liked about Major League Soccer, and not that I'm saying I think it makes Major League Soccer better in every aspect, but I haven't minded that this league has been quirky, and we're going to continue to be a little bit quirky, and fans can complain about that. I mean, about roster rules, you have to learn this other language of TAM and GAM and designated players and U23s and homegrown players, and it's a little bit of mess. But although other leagues do have those kinds of designations as well, but
I just want to add, I don't think that argument is part of this argument, because the whole salary cap thing, that's tied to a lot of things that the fans don't have control over. And
Right.
until MLS can get a juicy TV deal that doesn't pay each team, under 100 million, until they get that juicy, at least something twice as rich as the current deal, that salary cap needs to remain in place. Because if you don't think my Inter Miamis of the world aren't going to go out and just, bring back the old NASL days, I got news for
Right.
you.
Right.
There are several teams that will absolutely go out of their way to break this league if they can in their favor.
And that's where I'm going with it. I mean, I think those rules were put in place for a reason. And you can argue maybe they're not as effective as they could be. Maybe they should be, But we've been down that path before historically in American soccer, and it's allowed the team to get stable. It's allowed even lower spending teams to find ways and means to be competitive. And so when you have our national team coach, Pochettino, come out and say that, Major League Soccer is one of the more competitive leagues in this world, because anybody can beat anybody. You still have your top heavy teams, but they're not, they can get pushed around by teams that are building around young players. There's multiple pathways to success, which is not the case in the Premier League and other top flight leagues when you have the real top heavy guys. So so there's a lot of layers for that, and I hope some of that quirkiness will stay, and I think it will. But the schedule has also been part of the quirkiness, which I didn't mind. It was kind of made us a little bit unique. But I'm on board as I've sat with this and think, this is going to open the door to different kinds of talent. This is going to make it easier for MLS to continue to sell and develop talent, as well as bring in guys who are in form, who can make a difference. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be good for the league. And then I think it will open the doors for them to adjust roster rules to keep some parity, but also to open it up for our teams to go after other big name talent.
I think there's some realistic roster rules and budgetary things that can be done that don't necessarily involve altering the salary cap that much. I think the one that I like to see, if there's that I think can be addressed, is every year we see whoever wins the MLS Cup, all those bonuses and everything the players get, those count towards, and then it counts towards salary caps and all that. And you see a lot of teams that not a lot, but you saw it recently with LA Galaxy, what can happen to a team that won the title and then can't hold on to players because of all this bonus money. That's a simple fix. I mean, I'm all for parity, but I don't want to think that, hey, if FC Dallas catches lightning in the bottle next year and wins MLS Cup, then we got to tear the team apart, because now we can't afford everybody and we got to go back to being a terrible team. I'm just saying. So there's things you can do, simple tweaks that I like to see. Honestly, I'm okay with them holding off on making major changes to the salary cap and anything like that until after the World Cup, after the next, players vote and everything. I like to see that addressed then. But until now, I think right now, until the World Cup rolls around, I wouldn't get too excited about too many changes. This is not that it's a significant change. But as far as the monitoring and all that stuff, you guys just got to hang on a couple more years, and then we'll see some changes gradually.
Of course, part of the change includes a sprint season in 2026, or to sort of a mini season, just so that they don't have a whole spring.
That's mini season 2.0 because we
Yeah.
had during COVID we had a mini season, so
Right.
you know
It
you
should
get a
be fun.
little deja vu type deal.
Well, good. Well, so exciting days for Major League Soccer, but let's shift over to the big decisions awaiting FC Dallas as they continue to move into this offseason. And if there's one name we have heard for sure so far, it has been Sebastian Lletget, who did announce on Instagram, or at least alluded to the fact that he is done. His time in FC Dallas is over. Which, if you go to our little roster sheet here, I'll try to zoom in and work this as I can. It was one of those guys who did have a TAM player, which means he was a decent chunk of salary on the salary cap. But he had an option year for 2026, but it sounds like the team did not. And that is not a surprise, I think, to anyone on the show tonight, anyone watching, listening, even though Lletget has been a great servant to the club and sometimes one of the better midfielders out there. I'm only a little sad about that, just because I kind of wish a few of those players that the team could keep around to mentor young guys, or maybe Sebastian, as he gets along in his career, that he becomes one of those guys that can step down and coach as well. But it's clear, I don't think the tank is empty for him that he's filling, and I'm sure some other team is going to bring him in and give him an opportunity to be a part of the club. I don't think his career is anywhere near over yet. But so that's the only decision we've heard so far. The other guys in the list you see there, anyone that's listed 2025, we need to talk about. And I think last show, Colin and Jose, you made the case that Anderson Julio should not be around for 2026. At the very least, at the same level he was at this year. Do you still feel that way? Do you think Anderson Julio is going to be a roster cut going in to 2026?
I mean, I'll guarantee he won't be a TAM player. I think it'll be one of those situations where I think Julio can be a good part of this team. I think Julio can be a good player. I mean, we saw how good he could be and how good he was to the team when we were struggling. He seemed to be our best player, him and Petar Musa. So it's one of those things where we saw how good he could be. Now, towards the end of the season, after that small little injury or absence for those 3 games, towards back half of the season, he fell way down the pecking order in Quill's eyes. Whether that's effort, whether that's attitude, just from what I've seen in the stands and everything else, it's not going to allude to anything I don't know about for sure, but the attitude for sure is a issue from a fan perspective. I mean, we shouldn't be coming off the field, throwing a hissy fit, throwing water bottles on the ground, when we just won 3-1 to end a home slump. That should not be the attitude. The attitude should be, hey, I missed an opportunity, or hey, you missed a pass for me to make it 4-1, but we won at home. Let's celebrate and move on. I understand being upset and wanting to move on and wanting to score, break that drought. That's one thing. But having a full-blown hissy fit where you have to have leaders on the team like Lletget and Paz come over and console you, brother, maybe your emotions are not in the right spot. And again, people are human. You might have personal feelings, personal something going on behind the background that's just ate at them in that moment. I don't want to bash the guy, but having those kind of emotions, and there is a level of professionalism you have to have. That and the poor play, I would for sure. I wouldn't mind negotiating and bringing him in on a lower than TAM deal. I mean, but if he leaves, it opens up a TAM spot for sure, and opens up an international roster spot. So it's one of those things where I'm not too worried about it if he leaves. I wouldn't be heartbroken if he left. If anything, I'm more sad that Lletget is leaving. But same thing with Julio. Lletget was someone that was 45 minutes in the tank, maybe 60 minutes in the tank, and that was it. He is getting older. He is a TAM level player, which at the time when we acquired him, he was already older and a TAM player, but he had 8 assists in 8 straight games, something like that. So it's one of those things where it was worth it to get him back then. We were pushing for MLS for an MLS Cup in third place in the West. So it's just one of the things. Legit sucks to see him go, but Julio, but not. I would not be surprised that man's not back next year, and I wouldn't be heartbroken either.
Yeah.
I will take an opposing view to that, and I will tell you that whether he stays or goes depends on what formation Dallas chooses to employ next year. Because let's face it, that frustration might also stem from the fact that once he got healthy, once he came back, he was playing a completely different formation that did not require wingers, his preferred position. So while some players benefited, I would say more players benefited than were hurt by it. There were some players like Julio, combined with injury, that were hurt by that formation change. And if you're a person who's trying to move, who's saying, "Hey, you're watching your stock value drop because you're being placed out of position, you're having bad games because let's face it, that's not where you want to be playing, not in the manner you want to be playing." I think I'm not defending. I'm not saying that that's the cause for it, but I could see his frustration bubbling over. And yes, there's some profession to it and whatnot, but at the end of the day, we're all human. And I would say the formation next year that they choose. I mean, if you're gonna go out of the three in the back, you're gonna need some wingers, man. And letting one of the few wingers on your roster go sounds like not a very good deal. So I would say if they don't go three in the back next year and go to a four-man back line, then I think you keep Julio at least for the first half of the season and say, hey, and promise him that, hey, we will find you a new home come the summer. So I'm not closing the door on him. I'm saying it would be foolish to move on from him if you suddenly go to a four in the back. If you decide you're going to go stay three in the back, then absolutely, I can see him being gone. But you're talking about next year. I mean, what about Deedson? Can Deedson play anything other than wing? Because there's another guy. So there's two wingers that you'd have to basically move on from. So I'm not saying I've changed my mind on Julio. I'm just saying let's see what decision is next year, and I would if he stays, I would take that as a sign that we're going back to four in the back.
The next
combined with him having some trade value,
right? And that's all that and of course it could be that
the Hunts don't like to get rid of players that they think they can earn a buck on. So there's that to keep in mind too. And he certainly has value.
It was a year ago? It was one of the expansion drafts. We signed someone expecting them to get picked in the expansion draft, and they whiffed, and no one picked them. Was it the Austin draft? I can't remember, but we were going to decline the option. I mean, I heard for weeks, and then it said negotiating, and they didn't get a deal done and announce it until after the draft. But during the draft, they had already finished it, expecting him to get taken by Austin, to where they can get compensated that GAM money by the league because they thought he'd be taken by Austin. And they signed him at a lower roster designation for that. So it was one of those things that could happen too. I mean, we don't have an extension drafts, but they could definitely trade him for sure if they can get him off that TAM restriction, or even if they get him on the TAM restriction, as they know someone that wants him. Hey, we'll get his salary a little bit down for you if you can get us this or this player. And it's happened before in MLS. I mean, really Agata to RSL. We negotiated his deal. I think it was still a DP, but they negotiated his deal to where Kansas City was able to get his salary redone, and he got traded to RSL, and now I think he's about to be a free agent. So it's just one of those things. You never know.
Man, I think he does still have some value. I think teams will value his productivity, but yeah, it's and maybe they pick up his option and look at what's out there. But that's the inside the game kind of stuff that I know they're looking at. Yeah, here we go. Dig up the chat. All right, thanks. PB Talks. Looking at the next guy, of course, Sebastian Lletget, does have an option for 2026. He's not a TAM player anymore. This is another one of those polarizing guys who, based on what kind of part of the season you look at, you kind of go, oh, he shouldn't have been on the roster in the first place, to like, maybe he has some value still to this team if definitely valued by the coaching staff for his leadership, his presence. But he could be gone. I don't know. That's one that I would let go. I would just say we need to get younger at that position. We need to upgrade that position. But he's played a lot of minutes, and I've even seen some of our diehard critical FC Dallas fans kind of begrudgingly give Lletget some respect after his second half performance of the season, one of our steadier center backs. Thoughts? Is he going to be around in 2026? Jose?
I think he will. I think his value is more on, that veteran presence, that locker room presence. There's a lot of things that he offers. I think we would all be happy if he could be brought down, to a smaller deal. And I think the concern from my perspective is this team's track record doesn't guarantee that they'll sign someone to replace him at his level if they let him go. And do you really want to see Abubakar be our locked-in starter next year? I'm just saying something along those lines. Not necessarily Abubakar, but somebody like that who's got even more flaws than Lletget. So I think Lletget brings something to the table. I think the concern is his salary, but at the same time, I think I'd be okay with him coming back another year. He's got, like I said, they got an option on him. I'm okay if they pick it up. Next year will be a whole, for just one more season, I would say. At least until I'm certain that they've signed another center back capable of starting that's at a higher level than him.
Mm-hmm.
Until that happens, I can't see him going. I mean, the team could decide to move on from him, and I would be here just panicking about who's going to be starting next to Ruggie, because, like I said, this team does not have a track record of bringing in quality center backs. They're a team that likes to find bargains, find guys that look like they are ready to take that next step from being a key sub and ready for starter minutes, but that doesn't guarantee that they are. So yeah, I'm okay with him coming back. Like I said, my concern is his salary. If they can renegotiate and bring him down, that would make me feel a whole lot better. But that would probably also include extending him past next year. So it's a catch-22. And I will say this furthermore. I would not be shocked if this team does not make a ton of moves like we were all expecting, because let's face it, this is a 3-year build. So you don't have to build the team next season. You just have to take the next step. And after this next season, there's going to be a lot of contracts that go away, that can be terminated or passed on. And then the team can make massive roster moves. I think the concentration on this season should be plug your holes, strengthen some of your weaknesses, and strengthen the team this season compared to last season, and get ready to make bigger moves the year after, when you're going to have way more roster flexibility. And hopefully your stadium's further along than it is, and you're not only playing in front of 11,000 people. So, yeah, I would say that's what I want to see. I want to see holes plugged, some roster improvements, just taking that next step. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. There's a lot of 2026 contracts on this right now on the sheet, and so I think Um,
I
of
think
course, not
everyone
that
that
you
the
can't
team.
move those guys. You certainly can move
No,
those
no.
guys.
I
Uh,
think every player that they decide to keep, that we're all saying maybe they should let him go. All of them are come with a catch. So I think any player that they decide to pick the option on, there's a catch in there. There's a reason for it, and hopefully it's like, hey, let's hold on to him for another year, and we may see a lot of that. I mean, let's face it, the team came around at the end of the season. They were all finally buying into what Quill was trying to do, and you can see with just a few additions where this team could become a legitimate middle of the playoff pack team overnight with the right moves. Um, so, like I said, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I expect them to be conservative in their approach. Is what I'm expecting.
well, let's hit a few names quickly because some of these there's just not much to talk about. I mean, but Herbert uh, Endely, season-ending injury while out on loan. I believe his contract is through 2025, though they have an option. It's hard to see him coming back, even though he can play wing back. If you're looking at that three center back, five in the back kind of thing. But right, guys, it's hard to see him with a long recovery ahead. I just don't see that as a possibility. Jacob Jackson. Oh, go ahead, Jose.
I was going to say that Endeley is an obvious cut. I mean, simply because if you need room to add players to plug those holes, and if you got a young player who showed potential but then got injured, and now coming off injury like that, he's going to need like at least another year to recover. Why would you waste your time? Let him go. Let him, maybe he signs with a USL Championship team or something, and there's always a chance you can keep tabs, you'll keep his rights, and if he bounces back in 2 years, you can make a move to bring him back then. But for now, let him go recover and gain back his confidence somewhere else. He's still young enough. He's got some experience. He's got some potential. I think he'll land very well, and who knows? Maybe he'll even impress another MLS team.
Jacob Jackson, no contract options, so his contract runs out. I assume the team is going to be in discussions with him. It looked like
Can't confirm they are.
Okay, good. All right, good,
Yep.
Colin.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense, especially. Nice. I mean, it makes sense. Make it a three keeper battle royale to see who comes up top. I mean, but absolutely, you sign him, and then you're gonna have to move somebody. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's our Indonesian national player.
That's right.
You never know. It would be interesting. Absolutely.
Colin, have you heard anything about Paz? Because I had a little hint. I was given a little hint that Paz could be on the move this winter.
Yeah, I mean, he had interest for sure, and the club is really Quill likes someone who's aggressive between the sticks, and obviously Collodi is way more aggressive going out for crosses and everything than Paz. Paz was also a very good shot stopper, which helped with how Quill wants to play too, so it was really tough. But I think Paz's injury was what, from what I understand, is what put Collodi over Paz. Like the consistency that Collodi had compared to Paz, where 3 games he's really good, and then 2 games it's like, where's the Paz we know? And it's kind of what got him in trouble at Utrecht and got him in trouble at, I believe it was Ajax before that. It was his club before that. Like, it was the inconsistency, and it all came after an injury. So it's one of those things where, is it third time coming, and same song, third verse? Like, it's one of those things. Plus, someone kind of pointed it out to me. We've got, Paz had his green card, so it's not a fact of him being an international spot even more. It's just, I mean, do you want to spend 550 to 600K on a goalkeeper? And in this league, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. I'd say with our defense already being as leaky as it is, Paz, it really wasn't a difference. If anything, we were better with Collodi between 6. So, yeah, I can confirm. I've heard some whispers about Paz possibly leaving. I know it was heavy last winter for sure, and he rejected 2 teams. Didn't figure out who they were, but he rejected at least 1 or
Well,
2 teams. And
well,
now,
I think the team rejected one of those deals because that was that Italian club that wanted him on loan, and FC Dallas did not want to send him on loan. They wanted an outright deal.
mhm,
I believe it's an Italian club, and now I think if they do sign Jackson, now they have some flexibility where if a team wants to come in and say, yeah, hey, we'll take him on loan with an option to buy. Now Dallas has that flexibility to say, okay, we can do that because it gets him off
mhm.
the roster and get And I think they're just going to be way more flexible with what they can do with the 3 goalkeepers. I think that makes it very exciting to watch what happens between the posts. Uh, this
100%.
house.
Well,
Yeah,
next.
and
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
it was just the Italian club was not one of the 2 teams I was talking about. Very close to Italy is the other 2 teams I was hearing about from the La Liga is what I heard about.
Oh, okay. Am I thinking maybe further back? Wasn't there Empoli? I think was
Oh
the
no,
team that was.
yeah, Napoli wanted Velasco back in the day and Jesus. They were thinking about doing a
Yeah,
double, but they it was
yeah, but I do believe they were
Empoli or
also.
Udinese that was interested in Paz, if I had to remember correctly. I'll have to look after this.
Mhm.
Well, going down this list, of course, Nolan Norris' contract runs out at the end of the year. 2 contract year options. I mean, without a doubt, they're going to pick him up. I think
They need
it
to
might.
pick him up and then they need to redo his contract because this kid is. I mean,
He's ready.
he's showing signs that he's ready to step up and yeah,
He's ready.
pick up the option, give him a new contract.
Pedrinho, the next name, who is interesting just because at points this season, at a certain point, especially, you thought, well, his time's done, But Quill spoke positively of him in a post-game press conference. He continued to get some minutes, some key minutes. There's something there. So there's something still there. And, of course, you have 2 option years, so it doesn't hurt to pick him up for 2026. And if you think, let's have him in the mix again. So I think he gets picked up again and may even generate some value as part of that process, on a loan or a sale. But I think the way Quill played him, it looks like Quill thinks there's something there. Agree, disagree?
100%. I mean, Pedrinho showed signs of being of improvement and showed signs of being really good. I mean, I remember how hot he was end of North Texas season and early this season, up until the little rebellion with Acosta in California. But other than that, the kid's been good. And it's one of those things where if you can have a backup playmaker, a backup, even he can play wing. We got to remember that too. If you have a guy that's versatile and that young that you could develop into something, I mean, might as well keep him around for one or 2 more seasons. Pick up that because I believe it's an option.
Yeah.
Pick it up. Worst case scenario, go from there.
Yeah, I think his value comes in the fact that he's one of the few guys on the roster that can, pull something out of nothing. One of the few guys in Russia that has the ability to break a defense down. His inconsistency is maddening, but you can expect that from a young player. I wouldn't be surprised. I expect him to keep him, by the way, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's kept and sent out on loan. Because he's a player I think who could benefit from regular playing time as opposed to coming off the bench for FC Dallas. Unless you're sure that he's improved enough this offseason to earn even more minutes and become a regular rotation piece, not necessarily a starter, then you keep him. But otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if he signed and then sent on a loan for regular minutes.
Next 2 names are gonna be interesting. Anthony Ramirez, contract runs out, homegrown player, certainly continued to play a significant role, though he was dealing with some injuries this year with North Texas, and played a critical role to help them get into the playoffs late. But you get to the point too where you need to see him take the next step. They got plenty of option years, so I imagine they could keep him around and keep giving him some minutes with North Texas, or you look for that loan to help him grow. Carl Sante, another one interesting. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I think his time is probably over if they can't convince Phoenix to pick him up. But I'd be curious your thoughts on that, Jose. Um,
Well, I'm a guy who thinks he should get a chance, but at the same time, he does take up an international slot, and that may be what makes the decision for them. The fact that he takes up an international roster spot. If they don't think he can come in and give them solid minutes, then why would you waste a spot on a player like that? I like him. I think he is a Quill player, and I think whether if he stays, it's because Quill says I want him on the roster, make it happen. And other than that, I would say the fact that he takes up an international roster spot is the thing that may doom his time here in FC Dallas.
yeah,
Oh, and also Ramirez, he's gonna be like 20, so yeah, that guy should be
Yeah.
kept.
Yeah, Ramirez should be kept. I mean, he's 19, should be 20. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no way you
yeah,
don't keep him.
exactly. The
Yeah.
guy still has his best years are ahead of him.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, and I just think it's just the challenge with some of these kids is that at some point North Texas, it's good. It gives them a lot of experience, but you've got to take a next step, and that's where like the next name, Tariq Scott, his contract runs out. He has a couple option years. I think it's nice to have a homegrown striker that you can turn to deep on the chart. But even with North Texas this year, it was clear that he was stuck there, just needed a change, and so they got him a loan to Monterey Bay, um, and maybe
Where he
they
got
try to
regular
renew that,
minutes.
sitting there for the year, get him some experience. But another one where it's good to have always good to have a striker for practice and to develop. I figure he's going to be around, but I'm not sure he'll be with the team for the whole year. I think he needs a chance to grow. Some of these guys just need that chance to grow up a little bit, that change of scenery that comes with professional soccer. I mean, Thomas Pondeka, same category. I don't know.
I will jump in and just say that I think Pondeka is gone. He's a player
Hmm.
that they took a gamble on, and honestly, he's basically right. He's like Endele, he's a minus the injury, but he's a player that basically showed he could play at North Texas level. He hasn't proven he can play at MLS level, and he's one of those easy remove spots that you can clear to bring in other players, and I think that's going to be the move. I think he'll excel somewhere. Obviously, getting regular minutes at USLC level certainly will make him a hot commodity at that level. And if they bring him back, it's simply because somebody has shown enough interest that they're willing to trade for him but at that level, it's not going to be a big enough, I think, for them to bring him back. So I think he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. He played 15 games in New Mexico, and only 2 of them are starts. I mean, New Mexico went really deep this year. They weren't, and it's one of those things where like, if he was being an impact sub, great, but he really didn't do much off the bench. And then the chime in on some players I missed. Tariq Scott, 100% got to pick up the option. I mean, he looked electric for North Texas, and we only got on that loan, I believe it was like August 22nd. So it's one of those things. He's been there half a year, nothing really there to do anything with. And then did we talk about Sante or Sante? Did I miss that?
Yeah. We were
Okay.
talking about he takes up an
Yeah,
international record spot.
I would decline it. Yeah, at this point, a correction from last episode. Sante does not have a connection with Quill. He got there 6 months after Quill left for New Mexico, but he was someone that they tried to get beforehand. So yes and no. But even then, I mean, the guys, he made 17 starts for Phoenix. Either he was doing really really well, or he was being reckless and getting red cards and having like, obviously, match ratings don't mean anything, but literally his match rating average was 6.8, and it was literally anything like below, like it was either way below 5.5 or like 7.5 plus, which caused that average. So it's one of those things where it's like he's either really really good or really really bad. So it's I wouldn't pick him up either. And then we were just oh well, Lord, I'm missing it. Yeah, Pondeka I wouldn't pick up. Sante no. Tariq Scott yes. To keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, and the last two then to round us out, Diego Pepe and Alejandro Urzua. I'm definitely a yes on Alejandro. I think Diego Pepe, went to Texoma. I think didn't make a big impact there, although I don't think they're a particularly good team this year. And have a lot of struggles at that organization. I think you can make a case to say, hey, Diego, come back and be the leader for North Texas in 2026. They need strikers. They need guys who can score goals. And you could be kind of a star on that team. But as much as I like Diego and thought he was, he's had some good moments for North Texas in the past, I don't know that he translates to the MLS level. Like his brother did, like Ricardo did. But so it's interesting choice there. Not that his departure opens up a lot of roster spot for you or space, but does at least open a little pathway for some other homegrown player. So I think that'll factor into their equation on that as they go forward.
I'm glad you said something about that because I do believe there's several players from North Texas that become homegrowns. So I think Pepe is gone simply because if you keep Tariq Scott, then one blocks the other's pathway, I think. So you got two younger attackers. I think you keep one and let the other one go. And I think Tariq Scott is the guy I'd keep. And Pepe, another guy that could still improve in the future, but he's not MLS ready yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would. Yeah, Pepe's one of those. Urzua for me, I would say no. Apparently, the option that he has is pretty high for a homegrown, and for someone who, I mean, he started to play quite a bit at the end of the season with North Texas, but it's one of those things where, like, I understand he's a homegrown, but he's been a homegrown for 3 seasons now. Like, he's been a pro for 3 seasons, hasn't broke through, injuries are harboring him. I would decline the option, and if anything, maybe sign him full-time North Texas maybe, or something like that. I don't know. Pepe, for me, I would pick it up. I mean, he's 21. It's a 1-year pickup, I believe, because he still has multiple options, and he has options for 26, 27, 28. So it's one of those things where I would 100% just pick him up for a year, see what happens. And I mean, they're about to move to Mansfield, so and everything else. I would, if anything, I know 442 is an option for Gall as well. So maybe run both of them up top together, but we just have to see what Gall wants to do with that.
And my thing is in Urzua. I think he's another guy. I think yes, his option's big, but I think you bring him back and loan him out to a USL Championship level team. I think he's still young enough that they can afford to take that chance on him. But that's just me.
Yeah, true. Good stuff. I mean, yeah, and you guys are right. I mean, you said this before, Jose. Like, this is about plugging holes. If the team can, drop a handful of guys and create a little bit of space to go out and look at that a designated player over the winter, look at another, maybe a center back, even within the league, someone who's that veteran but maybe younger. All those things can help bolster this team just really quickly and give them some options. I mean. I think getting a designated midfielder, someone who is really going to elevate the midfield, and a veteran center back, I think you would already be putting the roster in a really strong place going into 2026. But with that said, there's also the options that we might see a departure of guys like Giovan de Jesus, who's been out injured. Still has his contract run through 2026. Does he get loaned out? Do they figure out a way? Do they figure out a buyer for Enes Salih and open up some possibilities there? There's some guys on the roster that could open up more space for the team to play with if they can find the right deals and opportunities for them.
I wanted to bring this up, not trying to sidetrack the conversation, but we're talking about Pandeka and Carl Saint, who made deep runs into USLC playoffs. But the team in the final has two players with connections to FC Dallas or North Texas in their starting lineup. Dominate the Western Conference and are now in the final against Pittsburgh. Of course, I'm talking about Tulsa. The first
Yeah.
of those starters you'll recognize, that's Khalil, who is starting for them. The second one you probably don't recognize because he played half a season for North Texas, and that would be Lamar Batista, who was that really good. He looked to have all the intangibles, and then he was just like, my God, he was totally inconsistent. He would disappear one game, have a great game the next, and the guy was just manning. And after about half season of that, they said, "Okay, yeah, you got to go." But yes, two guys with ties to the team starting for Tulsa, which I think just goes to reinforce that if you're a USL Championship team, you're eyeing up a lot of these players that Dallas may decide not to pick up, and say, "Hey, not just FC Dallas, but also North Texas." I think, if anything, North Texas has proven that they can produce players for that level. So I think I'll be watching that too. I expect some of these players that the team decides to move on from. I wouldn't be surprised if they bounce back with USL championship teams right away or higher.
Yeah. Gosh, it's wild. It's wild. And I didn't realize that FC Tulsa has Houston's former goalkeeper, Tyler Derrick.
Tyler Derrick.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other thing people aren't really talking about is some of the older players from MLS that are finding second lives at that level, because let's face it, USL Championship, while far behind MLS, has improved to a level that MLS was maybe 15 years ago or something like that. So it's not at MLS level, but it's making small strides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I need to leave it there, guys. I got dinner waiting for me. But we've just started to scratch the surface, and of course, who knows what's going to unfold over the next week or so. We expect roster decisions to drop any day, maybe even tomorrow. We know there's been a little bit of turnover. Gina Miller, the longtime vice president of media relations, did move on to the Dallas Mavericks. Congratulations to her. Very professional, and I think she's ran a tight ship for FC Dallas, and certainly got in my limited interactions with her. Just she was very professional, very straightforward to deal with. So maybe a little change there. Maybe that's shifting some priorities around as FC Dallas adjusts to that. But I'm expecting some good news to drop here, and then for us to figure out what that means for 2026. Also, one of the FC Dallas staff members moving over to Atlanta United. So that creates an opportunity there for a new face to shake things up staff-wise for Eric Quill and company.
Good. That team needs a lot of help, so maybe he'll help straighten them out.
Yeah, and I'm expecting some trades. I'm expecting some guys there to be some interest in some players on FC as there's teams rebuilding and looking at opportunities. Martin Paz could even be within league. Some team may say we want to get a goalkeeper that we can count on.
I would say that's an interesting move that he's moved to Atlanta, and maybe Atlanta will come knocking for some FC Dallas players. Not necessarily the ones we're expecting either, because let's face it, Atlanta likes to splurge, even if they don't pan out. They're not afraid to spend. So I'm just saying, if he arrives, the first thing I'd say is, who on that roster can help us right away, and can we afford him? And Atlanta can't afford everybody on this roster. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if they at least inquire about some players, maybe even some of the players that are being released. A team like that needs help everywhere. You can buy all this top-end talent, but a lot of top-end talent on a team that is a team in name only and has no cohesion doesn't get anywhere. So there is definitely need in Atlanta for some glue players, and Dallas certainly has those in spades.
Oh yeah, they're expect for sure at least 2 trades from what I'm hearing. One to a fellow Texas team for someone we talked about tonight. That's all I'm going to say from what I've heard.
All right.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think some of our fellow Texas team have been taking up FC Dallas' sloppy seconds for a couple of years now, so would not be surprised at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's leave it there. Colin, Jose, appreciate it. I'm not sure when we'll do the next show, but we'll probably in a week or two as off season gets going.
Roster drop.
Yeah.
Roster drop. If there's I would say if there's a shocking move or two.
Yeah, we'll jump on. We'll figure something out. All right. Well, good night, everybody. Of course, follow afterburn.soccer. Follow us on social media, and we'll share the information. We got an article coming later about the season shifts and things about MLS sort of growing up a bit, and I think that's it's a good time to be a fan. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.